LPFM in New Orleans. We are Radio HIV with programming. That's right, programming dedicated to human rights and social justice. WHIVFM.org. We honor independent voices. We are not a radio station with a mission. No, we are a mission with the radio station, and that is to end all wars. Welcome to COVID Noise Filter, the daily hour-long show that is now every other day. Thank you guys. I know that we've been off air for a bit, but it's so good to have you all. It's great to have you guys all back here. Thank you so much as you guys are starting to roll in. We do appreciate all the comments. Feel free to answer or ask questions. We will answer them. At this point, Doc Griggs is not with us. I did talk to him about 15 minutes ago. He said he will be here, hopefully. In the interim, we do have a lot of stories and slides to share. If you guys do have any questions, again, please put them in the chat. And as you guys are coming in, we always appreciate you guys hitting that like button and the share button also to let other people know that this stream is on and live. So with that being said, boy, oh boy, is there a lot of COVID. I've been working in the hospitals, so this is a fairly new development with me being in the hospitals, and it is crazy in the hospitals. The ICUs are packed with people with COVID. It's unbelievable. Almost 100%, if not 100% of people with COVID are not vaccinated, and it's crazy. I mean, young, healthy people in the hospitals right now. People who you would never expect to be sick, people who you would see on the street, be like, oh, that's a healthy person, you know? It's unbelievable what we're seeing. I guess it should be no surprise. This is certainly what the news has been saying. This is what we've been reporting as well. Man, it's real. And so lots of hospital work. If you're interested in hearing about my experiences, please feel free again to ask questions. And we're going to go ahead and just get started, as I'm not sure if Doc Griggs will be joining us. As I said, he did mention that he would be coming on and joining us. So this is a lecture that I essentially wrote for the Louisiana Osteopathic Medical Association. So we'll just skip that. I was just going to kind of just start off here, just looking at the, as of August 17th, the top countries with COVID. You can see is USA, India, and Brazil. And as far as I'm concerned, the reason why that's an issue is that these are countries that, at least initially for the US, both US in the previous administration and India did not really take COVID very seriously, unfortunately. And we are in this quagmire that we are in right now, along with India, along with Brazil, largely due to not taking it seriously. If you look at it, we have 36,000 cases in the 36 million, sorry, almost 37 million cases in the U.S. India's had 32 million, and Brazil is 20 million. But look at the drop, right? The next country is France with 6 million. And so, again, this is a reflection of essentially just not taking COVID seriously, not believing in the science, and certainly we're seeing that more than ever, as you can see here in the U.S. And again, if you look at new daily cases, the U.S. are really, really doing something here with respect to the new daily cases. We're far and away in the lead, more than anyone else in the world, as you can see. So these new daily cases are total cases. They're not per 100,000, so they're not standardized. But boy, are we really, in terms of the number of cases, have an extraordinary amount of them. So when we look, so those are cases. When we look at deaths as well, you can see that the number of deaths we're approaching 630,000 individuals, Brazil and India again. So you see the top three countries right here, and you can see the varying total death rate, right? So in the US, our mortality rate is about 1.7, and the average is about 2.9 when you average all of these together. So making right now an effective mortality rate of about 3, which is pretty remarkable. with respect to COVID. So some interesting slides I thought that we would start off with, looking at global epidemiology. Our global epidemiology is 209,326,903 with deaths globally, rapidly approaching 4.4 million. New cases were 531,307, and new deaths were 7,817. Let me take a quick break here and say, and bring Doc Griggs in. How are you, Doc Griggs?
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
Good, man. Still, I had a meeting run long, but I wanted to make sure I got in because we haven't done a show.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to definitely need you in a minute or two because apparently I was supposed to have somebody come in to fix something, an appliance, and they were supposed to come between 1 and 4, and now he's coming now. So I'm just going to need your help when I get the door, and I'll be wearing a mask because he's going to be working over there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And so let me, I will go on mute while you carry this part, and I'll be right back. I'm going to try to finish this up.
Okay.
Hi, y'all.
All right. This is Doc Griggs is in a meeting right now, apparently. So when we look at the global epidemiology, you can see, boy, our cases really going up, right? And I think it may start to, it may be starting to kind of find a place where it is hopefully starting to peak out. And quite frankly, this is surprising me. I thought for sure that we'd be surpassing here this peak that happened in May, but apparently it could be that Delta is just either burning out or it's also going through countries right now that may be very well vaccinated. Looking at mortality, mortality is still going up, is still elevated at this time. Looking at cases per region, we can see that the U.S. has a number of cases with respect per region. Is really seems to be increasing significantly as well. Looking at the coronavirus trajectories, which I thought was kind of interesting, we really see that Cuba seems to really be having an issue with cases right now, and as you can see here, so Cuba is really the country that's really having a significant elevation. So something for us to consider. Cuba is in the process, I know, of creating their own vaccine. And so, but I just do want to be considerate, and I think I would be remiss in not really commenting on the fact that we're seeing Cuba be what it is, and unfortunately, Cuba is still under a severe embargo, and so we from the U.S. and now we're seeing this significant elevation in cases, and that's something that just needs to be, I think, considered and talked about. This is an embargo that hurts the people. This has been an embargo that has been in place for a very, very long time, and really needs to be dropped right now, especially in this critical time when people in Cuba are suffering. And so here is a question from James. Says, why is the world not working on vaccines together? I 100% agree with you. I don't know why. The main issue here is that as long as we don't have vaccines in a global manner, because that's what we need these global vaccines to be happening simultaneously. And as long as we don't have those, we're going to continue to be living with these variants. And it's going to take a while for the world to wake up and realize that until there's global vaccinations for everybody, okay, all over the world, right, we're going to continue to go through these waves, right? And right now we're in a Delta wave, and that's just really the situation that we're in right now. So that being said, so thank you for that question. Heading back here, yeah, so Cuba is really suffering right now. And also I did want to highlight that Israel is having a significant uptick in cases. So you have countries that are pretty well vaccinated. Israel is certainly very, very well vaccinated and still seeing an uptick in cases. So this does reflect that this does have breakthrough cases. We can see breakthrough cases. These are the hot spots in the world. And you can see, I see a trend, that I'm wondering if this is, I don't want to say this is temperate at all, but certainly is kind of interesting that you have this line horizontally here of hotspots around the globe. But we are seeing hotspots just really quite literally, just randomly, in various places, including Western Europe, South Africa as well. And we can see that South America is not quite as affected as it was, but really the U.S. is pretty much a major hotspot, as we saw just a moment ago with looking at some of those graphs. All right, moving ahead. Right now, about 31.7% of the world population has received at least one dose, so that's great. I mean, it's not, and only 23%, so about a quarter of the globe is fully vaccinated. And really, when you think about it, it's really it's the countries that are the rich countries, the resource rich countries, resource poor or low income countries have only 1.3% have at least received one dose. So it's unbelievable. And again, until we have this parity of vaccines, of people working together, especially when we're talking about the low-income countries, until we get parity, until we start to see more vaccines being distributed across the globe, we're going to continue to have this issue of having these variants emerge. So that's something that needs to be considered. Again, it's great that a third of the world has at least received one, and 25% is completely vaccinated. But again, these are resource-rich countries. When we look at those that are in low-income countries, we see that it's just non-existent. And this is where we're going to start to see emergence of variants, is because of there. Just real quickly, here we'll talk about boosters in a moment. But thoughts on boosters? Should healthcare workers start now because it's been 8 months? Yes. I think that the idea of getting boosters, I think, is a good one. I do hear the WHO's comments of how can you be talking about boosters when the majority of the world hasn't even been vaccinated yet. I understand that perspective. I also understand the perspective of the need for boosters as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. When we get through the epi section, we'll go through a bunch of CDC slides that were developed specifically to talk about boosters and booster vaccines. But I think that if you are 8 months out from your second dose, then yes, you should be getting and should strongly consider getting booster vaccines. I got my second dose on, I think, February 6th. So I think that would put me somewhere, I think, in September, I think, if I do the math correctly, or if that's October, where I would be getting my second, my third shot, which we are referring to as booster vaccines. All right, but I think it's a good idea, and I'm glad that they made those recommendations. All right, moving on. So if we look at who has been vaccinated and by income, you can see that a overwhelmingly large majority of vaccinations have gone to high-income countries, upper middle-income countries, and hardly anything in lower middle-income countries. And when you look at the distribution with respect to, and this is for one dose or for 2 doses, for vaccines, each individual dose is counted. So essentially, we're looking at one dose, but you can see that the overwhelmingly majority of vaccines have gone and have been distributed in Asia. That very likely reflects China, I would imagine. But you can see Africa just hardly has had any vaccines whatsoever. 1.75, which is really, it's a tragedy. I know in where I'm from, which is Morocco, which is North Africa. I know that my family there's a terrible COVID outbreak happening in Morocco right now. I know that my family had access to the Sinopharm, which is which was made by China, and so I know those are some of the vaccines that they got there. And my family is able to actually get into Europe, and they've been able to access some of the mRNA vaccines as well. Of course, this is my family. This does not reflect the rest of what Africa looks like. And we're seeing that less than 2% of all vaccines distributed globally have gone to Africa, which again is an unbelievable shame and shouldn't be the case. So a couple of questions here. It says here, just one shot or the full round. Now the boosters are that if you got an mRNA vaccine, let's say you got Moderna, you got your second dose, then you would wait 8 months to get your third dose. And so I know I got this guy who's supposed to come fix an appliance here. Eric, are you there? I'm gonna need you to come back here. Eric, I hope you put me on mute because there's gonna be some silence here. Eric, I need you. Wow, so this is not easy, but this is the way it is. Guys, I may have to go on silent just for a quick second if you guys don't mind, and I'll be coming back wearing a mask. Do you believe we'll feel the effects of a booster vaccine? I'm not sure. It'll be interesting. I bet you there will be some side effects, not unlike what we experienced. I did not feel anything after my second shot. In fact, I traveled after my second shot, fortunately, and I did pretty well. I had to go to the East Coast. That's where I set up shop for a couple of months, if some of you viewers may remember. But it is varying by person, like the other doses. Some people feel good, some people feel fine. Thank you guys for all of us working together here. All right, so let's continue on. Again, as we said, it has been, this is the distribution of vaccines. And again, another image of just looking at vaccine distribution. And you can see that the Americas have been very, very well vaccinated as opposed to Africa, which has hardly been vaccinated. China and Russia certainly, but China as well. So certainly can see specifically that the UAE has been very well vaccinated, Singapore. So you can see these are the countries that have been very well vaccinated as well. All right, moving on. Here in the US, we're at 37,894,996 cases. Deaths are 640,089. The new cases are 136,192, and number of deaths are 871. That's what we've added. And when we look at the number of cases here in the U.S., we can see cases are going up by almost 20%. Daily reported deaths are going up by almost 30%, and COVID-related hospitalizations are going up by 17.7%. Test positivity is about 10.6, and the number of tests reported fell to 13.4. So you can see here the U.S. is going up in cases, which we have known about, with Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and Arkansas being the states with the most cases. And this is really starting to get, hang on one second, guys, we'll be right back. I'm doing the show right now, so just come in the washing machine right here. All right. It's right here. We ordered a new piece for what we thought it was. All right, so I'm gonna take a moment and answer some of your questions. It's the top one, yeah. And I could tell you what the error messages were too. It is varying from person to person, yes. Let's see, my friend is in the Moderna clinical trial and got a booster. He said he had a similar reaction to his second shot. Yes, I would imagine that would be the case. So yeah, so I think that we, with booster vaccines, you are going to see a very similar reaction as you got for the first one. And thank you, Chris, for that comment. I feel like we need increased rapid testing at venues, flights, etc. You know, that's funny. That's something that Doc Griggs is working on right now. Certainly something that should be considered. I think that we really, if we just got everybody vaccinated, of course, that would be the ideal situation. It's just as much as possible global vaccination. All right, so again, states with the highest number of cases, you can see here, it's pretty obvious. Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and Arkansas. I mean, look at the rate of rise in these cases. I mean, what links these three or these 5 states? Of course, not unlike what we saw with India, or the US, India, and Brazil. Again, these are states who are just shunning basic public health considerations. They're states that are just are fighting the science of COVID. These are states that have governors who are banning mask mandates at schools, and we're also starting to see schools shut down in these very states as well. And if you look at the rates of mortality, I mean, again, look at the states that we're talking about. At least the first 4 states right here, the highest mortality are also states in the South as well. Again, states that are just shunning the science of COVID. And I think that this is really, quite frankly, this is a tragedy. I think these are crimes against humanity, quite frankly. How can you look at these numbers and how can you look at these charts? And if you are a political leader in whatever state it is that you are in, the idea of being able to not recognize this and doing something to protect your people is to me is really quite stunning. When we look at the daily COVID cases, we see that there was this big peak right here that we saw, but then look here that there was, since July 1st, there's been a 700% increase in 7-day average for COVID-19 cases. So we are really, really experiencing quite a spike in cases. I know that you guys know this, and you can see that we're back to starting to have some of our highest number of cases a day. There's been an increase in 14-day change of 64% over the course of the last 14 days, with tests going up, hospitalizations going up, and deaths going up. Unfortunately, you can see here that only 62% are fully vaccinated and 72% have at least gotten 1 dose. And I'm going to just try to pull Doc Griggs in here real quickly. Fortunately, our elderly, 91% are vaccinated with at least 1 dose, but of course we want everybody to be as fully vaccinated as possible. So 81% is what we have there. So continuing on, looking at regions, who's got the most cases, and you can see here Florida is far and away the largest number of cases. As we saw a moment ago, we saw that, but the South in general just has the highest number of cases, just period. You can see that here, and then also in this graphic right here, you could just see the number. Again, if you are a political leader, how do you look at this and not do things to focus on the safety of your people? The craven political nature of this situation, such that you have people that are only focusing on their own political careers rather than truly focusing on how to get people better within this situation here. And it's really quite stunning to me that you can see all the cases happening here. These political leaders have the science at their fingertips and unfortunately just aren't doing the right things. And you can see the states with the least amount of vaccinations. You have Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, of course, right? You know, these are the 3 states with the least amount of vaccinations, and then of course those are the same 3 states that have the highest number of of cases daily, as well as the highest number of mortality as well. Looking at vaccinations, you can see that here in the US, our vaccination rate does continue to go up. And you can see that as vaccination rates were going up, you can see that the cases were going down. But here, even though we have the highest vaccination rates that we've ever seen, you're seeing an increase in cases. And what that reflects is that reflects this Delta variant. And that Delta variant, is really showing us that breakthrough cases are a thing and continue to be a thing. In Louisiana, you can see again cases going up. I'm sorry, vaccinations going up steadily. But you can see that we were really good with keeping cases at a certain level, but that has significantly gone up. Again, reflecting that Delta does not, that you can have breakthrough cases with Delta. Now, again, what the vaccine is protecting you from is the severity of illness, right? The vaccine is very good at making sure that you are not going to get severely ill. The vaccine is not going to protect you from those breakthrough cases. The vaccine did protect you from those breakthrough cases initially when it came to the alpha variant or the wild type strain, the strain that emerged out of Wuhan, China. But we are in a new place right now with respect to these Delta variant. And I'm afraid, and you've heard me say this before a number of times, I am afraid of what may happen when you have new variants, when you have Lambda, when you have other elements that are going to possibly coming down the line. And we're very, very concerned about that. All right, moving forward. So that central piece at the bottom, that was new. We replaced that piece. Yeah, we thought that was the problem, but we replaced it and it's still giving us that error. All right, moving on. All right. So this is an interesting slide showing total vaccines administered. You can see that the majority of people who were vaccinated against Pfizer, and followed next by Moderna, and then Johnson & Johnson. So which I think about 5% of the total population has been vaccinated with Johnson & Johnson. You can see there was a big peak of vaccinations that peaked out around April or so, and you can see that has significantly gone down. Here, this was the rush to get vaccinated, and then these were healthcare workers and secondary workers, and then all of a sudden they got opened up to the general population. Once it was open to the general population, everybody who wanted to be vaccinated got vaccinated, and again, over time, that has since waned. Hey, Eric, can you just take over for a quick second, okay?
I absolutely can. I heard you say something about got vaccinated. Who got vaccinated?
I don't know. What do you mean who got vaccinated? Hey, Eric, here's a question that I think you're going to probably answer. Eric, a question here is from Sari. She's asking, do you believe the COVID saliva test is as good as the PCR nasal?
Yeah, so all of the evidence that I've seen shows that we see that our testing has evolved. Saliva PCR testing is because it's PCR testing is, from what I've seen in JAMA, that it is as accurate. From what I understand, there are companies with a shorter turnaround time, and they're not dealing with the inconvenience of being stabbed in the brain, if that makes sense. Mark Allen stepped away. I was able to look at some of the slides, like some of them, and you see that we're still on fire, Mark Allen. I missed some of your slides. I just know that the numbers are not seeming and not feeling much better.
Yeah, no. I was saying that just being in the hospital, I was giving a little rundown of what the ICUs have been. It's a bunch of young people, and by young I mean 20s, 30s, 40s, are just sitting there, kind of their eyes are just bugged out, difficulty breathing, and they can't believe they're in that situation. It's unanimous They're just like, I didn't think it would happen to me. And I just, how do we, and it just seems like to a certain degree, this country just constantly is that, like if it doesn't happen to you directly, it's just easy just to kind of blow off, or these things just, you just don't care. And so, what we're seeing right now is sorry, Eric, I'm slightly distracted. What we're seeing here, Eric, can you just take over?
Yeah, so what we're seeing now, one of the things that he was telling me is that everyone that Mark Allen has seen is unvaccinated, and they're all saying the same things. They look regretfully and almost remorsefully, like they're apologizing, saying, hey, doc, I'm not anti-vax. I just didn't believe it would happen to me. And that's typically the nature of any disease process. No one ever imagines themselves having a heart attack. No one else ever imagines themselves having COVID. I know I wouldn't. I didn't know I had it. Apparently I have the antibodies, but it's a tough fight right now, and it's going to get tougher. We were talking at the studio about how hard it's going to be to get people to get flu shots this year.
Why is that? Is that what you talked about on the news today?
No, we talked about it in the newsroom yesterday because people are just anti everything. Like, I'm not taking a flu shot. I'm not taking a COVID shot. I'm not taking anything. You can't make me. And it's not the science they're against. It's the fact that they don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah. Well, it's less of, I think, telling what to do and more of, you're in the car right now, but the minute you're going to start driving, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Click my seatbelt. Right.
So, yes, people are told what to do. But when it comes to medical, we never tell people what to do. We only indicate to people what to do.
Advise. Indicate and advise.
That's all we do. I mean, there is no mandatory flu vaccine, or there is no mandatory COVID vaccine. And again, all we're just trying to do is we're just trying to save people's lives. And I do agree with Elizabeth's comment here, which is that Americans will only believe what they want to believe in the U.S. And I think that is a large part of what we are seeing. And she says here, not me. I started my Pneumovax this year and about to start. Yep, HPV, good for you. Give me all the things that could be prevented. Absolutely. That's the right attitude. Give me all the things that could be prevented. It's perfect.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we were asking what advice do you have? What can be our ask? Is there another way to convince people to get vaccinated? And we really found out it's not a fact. It's not anything that we would do. It's people are making it based on their own experiences. What I've seen, I can't tell you the loss. I've had family members now not die but be hospitalized. I have a friend he's on day number 8 or 9 in the in ICU right now because he wouldn't get vaccinated. I would argue, and ignored that sniffle, ignored that little cough, that headache, that different sign, kept his taste, and now his sats are low. So it's at this point, it's just a matter of just trying to protect as many people as possible and keep feeding the information.
Does he have any comments to you or to?
No, he just wants to know, the remdesivir versus the the steroids. Is it too late for monoclonal antibodies? I get all kinds of questions, man.
Oh, I'm sure. Does he regret not getting the vaccine?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I could well imagine. Let's see. Yeah. We have lots of comments here. Real quickly, from this point forward, perhaps 3 doses should get the standard COVID vaccine procedure for the immunocompromised. I think so. I think that's good. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm going to let you speak to it because you see it. And I think that's something. You understand that the people that were immune compromised potentially did not get a therapeutic dose to begin with because their immune systems, like let's say this is baseline. If you're immune compromised, you might start from here. So the same parabolic curve, that way, right? Parabolic curve that needs to go up here to be therapeutic might only reach to here. So of course that's being studied now because immune compromised are some of our most vulnerable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in this deck, kind of buried into it, I do define, and I'll see if I can try to find it really quickly. I do define what immunocompromised is, what they mean by immunocompromised, because that's something that we have not really heard a lot.
5 diseases.
Yeah, so these are slides that I got from the CDC, essentially looking and truly defining for the first time. But this is the first time I've heard about 5 diseases. What 5 diseases are you talking about?
Well, it's 5 diseases. It's the transplants, the people that are cancer patients. They specifically named lupus, and I'm trying to remember the other 2. It was listed. It all has to do with having an immune system not strong enough to fight.
Right, but I mean, like I went and got my infusion this week, and the doctor, the allergist, said that she was like, yes, you're immunocompromised, or yes, you have an autoimmune disorder, but you have the least of all autoimmune disorders. Like if you can choose an autoimmune disorder, you chose the right one, because it's a spectrum. So am I immunocompromised? Technically, I think yes, but it's a spectrum. I think that there's more people that are immunocompromised. I wouldn't consider myself immunocompromised, but here's the deck from the CDC, and you can see those people with cancer, hemodialysis, with organ transplant, immunosuppressive therapies. You can see people in hemodialysis really reach a pretty robust level, although you did have some stragglers. People with cancer, especially blood-borne cancers, did not do as well. Organ transplants are terrible. So this is where some of the recommendations are coming from. So, so these slides were the slides essentially generated.
Did you just put up slides?
Oh yeah, you can't see anything? Oh man, I've been going over slides, man. So here, check it out. So again, here you got this is that bar you're talking about, Eric, right?
Yep.
Right. So people with cancer, especially blood-borne cancers, that's the dark blue.
Yep.
They did not make very good antibodies after 2 doses of an mRNA vaccine. People with hemodialysis did okay, right? People with kidney failure.
Yeah.
But people with organ transplants, oh man, not at all. Even people who were on immunosuppressive therapies, you can see there was a range, but these people on organ transplants, and that was largely due to the fact that they have to take medicines to specifically suppress their immune system.
Prevent rejection.
Right, and so what they essentially said, who are immunosuppressed? So if you have active treatment for solid tumor or hematologic malignancies, right? So these are blood-borne cancers. If you're a recipient of solid organ transplant and immunosuppressive therapy, if you're a recipient of organ stem cell transplants, moderate or severe primary immunodeficiency, and here's the first time we are seeing HIV, but this is people who have advanced disease or treated HIV infection. And then lastly, active treatment with corticosteroids, so anything more than 20 milligrams of prednisone a day. So this is essentially how they are referring to the immunosuppressant. Eric, there's a really strong noise coming from you.
Yeah, I can't understand you.
Yeah, that's a lot better now. Whatever. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. What do you mean by you can't understand?
No, we couldn't understand you. I'm trying to. You were muffled.
Oh, okay. I'm hoping better. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, let's try it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right. So a couple quick questions here. Let's see. Let's see here. My immunocompromised mom tested positive last week. She was vaccinated along with the rest of my family. No one caught COVID from her. Wow. I hope she does well. Elizabeth, thank you for sharing. Tamiko says, docs, what are your thoughts about some of the doctors saying that they are going to stop seeing patients that are not vaccinated? They are saying they tried. They're tired. They're tired of seeing their patients die. Yeah, well, I'm not really sure about that. As you guys know, I'm an HIV doctor, so some of my patients are not vaccinated. I'm not going to not see them. I'm going to still give them their HIV medicine. So I think that if you're a doctor and you're not seeing patients that are not vaccinated, I think that to a certain degree, that's abandonment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's actually a term for that, which is a patient abandonment, and I would not recommend it.
I wouldn't recommend that. I mean,
yeah, and again, I'm in the hospitals every day, and the only people that are in the hospital right now are
unvaccinated people.
Yeah, so I think it's an odd thing to do. I wouldn't recommend that at all. Although I do understand the sentiment.
I understand the fatigue.
I will say this: every conversation I have with every doctor this past week has been the same thing. I'm tired. I'm sick of this. I don't know how much longer I can go. So just FYI. Chris Middleton says, is treatment with Regeneron normal for COVID patients with high-risk comorbidities? And so the answer is absolutely. Thank you. Elizabeth, the answer, yes. Both vaxxed and unvaxxed, absolutely. So here, Sari says, social media isn't helping. Yesterday I saw a video saying the PCR test is unsafe because it is sterilized with ethylene oxide. I did some research to read the gases used for sterilizing medical equipment.
The people are trying to get in the weeds. Don't buy into that. That's all a distraction.
Right.
It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here there are new claims that a longer wait period between doses increases longevity of vaccine generated immunity. So wait 60 or 90 days instead of 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, they have been playing with that. Certainly we saw that all through Europe, and we saw that in Europe that they were very successful with that. Here, I would still wait. I would do what the FDA recommends and what the CDC recommends. I would not go out of that.
We don't need smaller experiments.
Yeah, I mean, because that's essentially what that turns into. So we really want everybody to be as safe as possible, as much as possible. I'm gonna just kind of go back to where we were, Eric, as we're kind of starting to wind things down here. I'm trying to find where I was because I skipped ahead there. Let's go to Louisiana. In the state of Louisiana, do you have any updated news with Louisiana, Eric?
Don't on me right now. I've been in meetings all day.
All right. In the state, our total cases 631,837. Deaths are rapidly approaching 12,000. At least a couple days ago, we added almost 4,000 cases, and here's our epi curve. Completely, we're having some of the highest cases that we've ever had, with again tests going up, crazy hospitalizations, and deaths going up as well. So it's just been really, it's been a very aggressive wave. You can see it, the whole state of Louisiana just really looks just really rough. Eric, did you hear what the governor had to say by any chance?
Oh, I didn't. It came on today at 1:30 and I missed it.
Yeah, I was working as well. Daily new cases slightly going down, infection rates slightly going down in the state, and then Orleans Parish, maybe we saw a peak, and hopefully the number of cases, as you can see here, are hopefully starting to peak downward. So that is our hopes there. Looking kind of very quickly at variants, I know you like this graph. Look at that.
Yeah.
So the black here, the light brown, the gray, the dark brown, these are all variants of Delta. Look how Delta exploded.
Those are all variants of Delta. Wow.
These are all variants of Delta.
There's variants of variants.
So there's variants of variants. You see, this is 16172, right? And then you've got AY.2, and then AY.3 and AY.4. The whole thing is Delta. And look how at one point, look how Alpha was everything, right?
Yeah.
And then it just, it is
crowded everybody out.
It is Delta has crowded everybody out. It's just really unbelievably impressive. And here, this graph more or less says the same thing as well. You can see that as of now, you have just Delta. See, these are Delta 1617, and then all the sublineages. Yeah. Just, boom, the whole thing, man. It is crazy. So, something to consider. We do know, again, these are variants of concern. And again, Delta just dominant everything.
Yeah.
Much more transmissible as well. And I've never seen a graph that looks like this, which shows the vaccine's efficacy.
Yeah.
So you can see against the Delta, AstraZeneca has 71% with one dose.
I like that slide.
Isn't that cool? 94 for Pfizer and Moderna, 85 for Johnson. And then when you look at 2 doses, the AZ vaccine has 92% efficacy, and Moderna, Pfizer has 96. Now remember, again, this efficacy is really a function of, it's not preventing an infection from happening, it's actually preventing severity of illness. And I think that's super important for us to recognize that, because again, the people that are in the hospital right now, people that are dying in the hospitals are the people who have not been vaccinated.
Right.
So moving on here, here we talk about the vaccine efficacy that we've talked about a number of times. Yeah, we can skip through some of these. A little bit more about Delta. We know that it's nearly twice as contagious as previous strains. Some evidence of increased illness and severity than previous, so it's more virulent. Again, you have greater contagiousness, greater virulence, and greater risk of transmission.
Excuse me 1 second, Mark. I don't have to community. I'll be right back.
All right. So, you know, it's just really, we've never seen anything like this before with respect to, usually viruses don't become more infectious and more virulent. They either become more infectious and less virulent, or more virulent and less infectious. What we're seeing right now is something completely different. And fully vaccinated people with Delta breakthrough infections spread the virus to others at the same level as people who don't have, who are not vaccinated. But what the CDC here says, that vaccinated people with Delta appear to be infected shorter period than unvaccinated. Now, we've shown this graph before, but here is the original. So again, this is a graph that looks at the R0. So this is the R0 down here. The R0 is the average number of people infected by one sick person. So if, for example, you look at the common flu or the common cold or HIV, or even Ebola, right? These are all, you know, bird flu, MERS, SARS, they all have really small R0s. In other words, one person transmits it to 2 people. So for HIV, it has an R0 of 3, let's say. Here you can see the original SARS-CoV-2 virus. It's now referred to as the ancestral strain, or also referred to as the wild type, as we usually refer to it as, has an R0 of about 3. But now this new Delta variant has an R0 that potentially could go up and surpasses the chickenpox. I give it an R0 of anywhere between 6 to 8, which makes this virus the second most infectious virus that we know of, with measles being the most infectious agent that we know. Here, the CDC say Delta variant is more transmissible than MERS and SARS, Ebola, the common cold, the seasonal flu. So it is really something else with respect to how infectious this variant really is. We have talked about Delta infections associated with higher viral loads and duration of shedding. This is something that Dr. Griggs has talked about pretty significantly. And in these several studies here, they do document that there are higher viral loads associated with the vaccine, or I'm sorry, with the Delta variant. Delta variant vaccine breakthrough cases may be as transmissible as unvaccinated ones. As we said, Delta variant may cause more severe disease, which we have again taught a number of times. So this is Delta. It is really a terrible organism. In terms of what it is doing and how it's doing it. It has really caused significant issues. It's more contagious, it's more severe, and breakthrough infections may be transmissible as unvaccinated. So this is where we are right now. I will actually just kind of start to wind down the show, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I know today was a little haphazard. We do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on Monday as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll talk with you guys.